opening, and let's see about the closed systems in that. And the first thing which you are seeing is the typical methods in the closed system of the Ruy Lopez. And as you can see, the Ruy Lopez was first mentioned in the manual written by the Spanish priest Ruy Lopez, and he considered bishop b5 to be weak, but the modern theory has another opinion. So let's see it. And so let's see the classifications of the closed Ruy Lopez, and let us deal with the typical ideas and plans of the closed Ruy Lopez, which starts from the position on the diagram. And here black's main possibilities are the Chigorin variation. The Chigorin variation comes after knight a5, bishop c2, c5, d4 and queen c7, in which black advances the c pawn right away, increasing the pawn tension in the center. And next system is the Breyer variation in the closed system of the Ruy Lopez, and this comes after getting back the knight to b8 once again, and then d4, and then knight bd7, and then knight bd2 and bishop b7, in which first of all black intends to position his pieces harmoniously. Then he would decide how to attack the white center, either with the pawns by pushing c5, or with the pieces like putting rook e8 and then putting bishop to f8. So next the Smithslaw variation and the Zaitsev variation. These are the modernization of Breyer's idea. They go like after h6 and d4, rook e8, knight bd2 and bishop to f8. This is the Smithslaw variation. And the Zaitsev variation is bishop b7, d4, rook e8, knight bd2 and bishop f8. Instead of h6, if bishop b7 is played, then that is called Zaitsev variation. And next the lines knight d7 and bishop e6 on the ninth move. These were introduced by Chigorin. So knight to d7 and d4, bishop f6, with the idea to overprotect the e5 square and to keep the piece pressure on the white center. Despite the fact that the variations mentioned above look quite different, all of them have the common strategic ideas. So let us look at now the positions with closed pawn center. Enduring maneuvering and preparation of flank pawn breakthrough are usual in the positions with the closed pawn center. And now let us look at the Spanish knight. After d5 by white, now knight to a5, and that knight is the Spanish knight. And now b3, and the pawns restrict the black knight on a5, and now bishop d7, and now knight to f1, knight b7 and knight g3, now c4 and b4. White does not allow the black knight to move to an active position. Black is condemned to suffer due to his queen's knight until the end of the game. So let's see the game. So I'm showing you here the moves. So the white is attacking on the flank and blocking black on the e4 square. White has more space advantage here. And guys, this game is a nice example to show you how to play from the white side. So now we will look at the Rubinstein's maneuver, and after d5 now knight is put to d8. So the Spanish knight is not going to a5, rather he goes to d8, and this is the beginning of the maneuver intended both to solve the problem of the knight and to strengthen the king side. Now a4, as you can see, rook b8, ab5, and knight to f1. Now knight to e8 and g4, g6, knight g3, knight g7, and king h1 and f6, and rook g1 and knight to f7. And now the Rubinstein's maneuver is finished. Both the knights are in g7 and f7, and the problem of the knight is solved. Black stands well here, and now let us look at the white's advance of g4, and also his invading of the f5 square. The standard plan of white's kingside attack involves the g4 advance, followed by doubling the rooks along the g file and knight's invasion to the f5 square. Now king h1, c4, rook g1, knight e8, g4, knight b7, knight bd2, g6, knight f1, knight g7, bishop h6, f6, knight to e3. White threatens with a knight sacrifice on f5, launching a dangerous attack. And black's typical reaction to g4 advanced is the well-timed h5 push. After g4, now h5 and gh5, bishop takes h3, knight 3 h2, and bishop takes f1, knight takes f1, queen d7, and knight to g3, queen h3 and queen f3. Now g6, bishop to d1, rook fe8 and queen g2, queen takes g2, king takes g2, and this was played between Kasparov and Petrosian in 1979. Now let us look at the f4 breakthrough. After the knight is put to h2 from f3, now g6 by black and knight g3, and now c4, and now f4 by white. In this situation, it is difficult for black knights to occupy the e5 square due to the bishop on d7. And now ef4, bishop takes f4 and bishop f8, bishop to g5 and bishop e7, queen d2, bishop c8, rook f1, knight d7, knight g4, and then this is played between Karpov and Unzicker. The game may go like after king g7, e5, d e5, bishop takes e7, rook takes e7, and queen h6 check, king g8, and rook f6. So if black does not react to the f4 advance, the white pawn would go to f5, squeezing black's king side. Like after knight h2, bishop g7, f4, and if he puts f6, then f5, then g5, bishop c2. White prepares the light squared bishop exchange, and now bishop to f7, knight g3, knight b7, bishop d1, h6, bishop h5, queen e8, queen d1, knight d8, rook a3, king f8, and rook 1 a2, king g8, knight g4. I'll show you the moves. Then queen h5, then knight to d8, then queen g6, king f8, knight h5, and this was played between Karpov and Unzicker in 1974. So guys, we will be looking at the f5 breakthrough by black from my next video. So thank you all.